The UK union leader is warned of mass defiance warnings over attempts to ban strikes. We're going to read into this exclusive from The Guardian, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here with an exclusive from The Guardian with the headline that the UK union leaders mass defiance warning over an attempt to ban strikes. The exclusive revealed that the Fire Brigades Union chief speaks as the TUC meets to discuss new minimum service laws. So these new minimum service laws are designed to try and keep services afloat when the unions go on strike. Now, it's really important to make it clear here is that and I really have to stress this, while of course we want our services to run, we always want them to run, and we want them to run at the best possible, best as it possibly can, whether it's our NHS, whether it's our teacher schools, and whether it's our rail service, whatever it is, and whatever unions that you may be listening to, or if you're even considering joining a union, or maybe you don't want to have any part of a union. Whatever your position is, it is very important that you need to understand workers have rights. Workers need rights. They are important. They are important to you. They are important to me. Because without rights, you are nothing more than a slave to your master. Nothing more. You'll be earning absolutely nothing. And we are already, in the UK, struggling as it is, on the pay that we are having to make ends meet, to pay some of our bills, as it is. It is a difficult time out there for everyone, especially here in England. Unions are there to fight for you, to fight for better pay and conditions. They are there to protect us. That's what they do. The rights that we have today are because of unions. Now, it's very important to make this clear that these minimum service laws, which, by the way, our states are already running as bare minimum as they are because they've been cut to the bare bone, some of them, their intention is to stop these strikes altogether. Their intention, if they could, they would ban them outright. The only reason they can't is because they would get a backlash from the public. So they're slowly dumbing down the rights and the will of people being able to freely speak out, to freely strike. That's what this is about. This is about suppression. This is about stopping you having a voice. That's what this is about. We need to have a voice, and which is why it's more important than ever that if you are a worker, you should join a union. And you really should consider it, because your rights matter as a worker, as an employer, as an employee. Whatever job it is, you need to look after yourself. It matters. And it matters so much more than ever before. We cannot and we must not let unions die. Workers' rights matter. And these guys are the reason we have so many rights today. And if it was up to the Conservatives, they would take all those rights away from us and make us work 24/7 into slave labour and run us dead into the ground. Because they don't see us anything other than slavers, human dogs, just a number on their sheet, working a job, nothing more. They don't see us as individuals, as human beings with emotions and feelings. The only reason that they don't push it harder is because they're scared of the backlash they would get from the British public. And we don't stand up enough. We are far too fickle and we're far too scared to scream and shout about how we feel as workers. And it's so important that unions stand up in defiance against them, which is why more than ever we need to encourage young people to join unions. So, the new government's anti-strike laws for public sector workers could prompt the start of a campaign of mass defiance not seen since the 1970s, a union leader has warned. Wrack, the General Secretary of the Fire Brigades Union, said the minimum service levels legislation passed earlier this year was effectively a ban on strikes and the biggest attack on the rights of workers since the Second World War. That's exactly what this is. Speaking to The Guardian ahead of the special convened TUC summit to discuss how to respond to the law, Wrack said the campaign of non-compliance was one of the options under consideration. The reality of the legislation is now becoming clear. In key sectors, employers will be able to issue work notices compelling a majority of employees to work even after the democratic vote for strike action. That effectively is trying to outlaw strikes. It is the biggest attack on workers' rights in post-war Britain and reminiscent of the oppressive restrictions that exist in dictatorships and authoritarian regimes. Companies like Amazon, owners like Elon Musk, they want you to work as long as possible for as little as nothing. That's what they expect of you. There was a lot going on. There was a news story not too far ago about Elon Musk and Tesla, his company Tesla, over in Sweden, I believe it was, or Norway, I believe it was. And because they have one of the Nordic countries, my apologies for not remembering which one, that they have such strong unions that in the end you either follow what they say or you get or you're not going to be able to work to make business in the country. Strong unions are so important. We don't have as strong unions like we used to. Nordic countries still have them. America has nothing. You work like a dog in America at times. And we still have some unions, but there's the unions here, but they're losing their power. The French have a very strong voice. We need them more than ever before, especially when we are struggling to make ends meet. The minimum service level law was passed this year as the government faced a wave of disruptives, public sector across health, education and transport. That's because they won't pay them what they need. Pay them the enough for them to be able to get on by. Like they don't pay them enough. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be one or two people in the comments who are probably thinking, they might be saying like, they earn thousands and thousands of pounds already. Yeah, so why are they still struggling to make ends meet? Like clearly, like you unless you are a teacher, unless you are a doctor, unless you are a train driver, you have no idea what it's like for these people unless you put yourselves in their shoes. Or try to put yourself in someone else's shoes perspective before you come on and just shouting and saying that they are being greedy, that they're being greedy for more money. Yeah? Try and put yourself in their shoes before jumping to conclusions. Because the rights that you have are because of these unions. And you do well to remember that before you criticise them. It will allow employers to issue a work notice before a strike, specifying which employees it deems necessary to maintain a minimum level of operation and what work they should be doing. The new law is expected to start taking effects across 3 sectors: the ambulance service, the rail network and border security from the middle of December, with regulations for the fire and rescue service, education and nuclear decommissioning to be introduced soon. Paul Newark, the TUC General Secretary, said the law is unworkable. Wrack said it hasn't really sunk in how serious this is for some sectors of the trade union movement. He added the TUC summit could very well mark the start of a campaign of non-compliance with this legislation, with workers strikers in defiance of work notices. This could mean a wave of strikes next year and up to and during the next general election. Wrack said the law effectively means workers in the public sector would be told to break their own strikes. What happens if people who voted to strike refuse to go to work? How far does a union go to police its own members, he added. The FBU leader said because firefighting and many other public services were the responsibility of devolved administrations, the law would apply differently across Britain. Hammer Youssef, Scotland's First Minister, has publicly said he would not issue work notices under the new legislation, while the Labour Party has pledged to repeal the law if it wins the next general election. Wrack said it was possible that 100% of firefighters might be issued with work notices if they had voted to strike. His union has 33,000 members and has been one of the most outspoken of its oppression to the new legislation. The FBU and other unions will not accept this attack on working people by this government, led by multi-millionaires, which ruthlessly serve the interests of the billionaires and bosses. Wrack said a campaign of non-cooperative backed by the TUC would represent the most significant act of defiance by unions since the 1970s, when legislation was introduced by Ted Heath's 1970-74 government was defeated through a mass defiance of the law. Since the 1970s, Conservative governments has passed a series of laws curbing the power of unions, and Wrack said these was some nervousness about defying the new legislation. Everyone is united opposing it, but some people are saying we've had our fingers burnt before. There are concerns about funds being segregated. I'm not underestimating the importance of that. The government says minimum service levels will ensure vital public services will continue in the face of strikes. Rishi Sunak said the regulations would prevent unions from derailing Christmas for millions of people. The Department of Business and Trade spokesperson has said the purpose of this legislation is to protect the lives and livelihoods of the public and ensure that they can continue access vital public services. They added the bill does not remove the ability to strike, and we understand disruption is inherent to any industrial action, but people expect the government to act in circumstances where the rights and freedoms of being disproportionately impacted, and that's what we're doing with this bill. The whole point of a strike, guys, the whole point of a strike is to disrupt, is to make noise, is to get the attention of the government, is for making their leaders and their bosses saying, hey, we're going to make you listen to us. That is the whole point of strikes. This whole minimum service level, it completely defeats the whole purpose of striking. It defeats the whole purpose of it. It's taking away your right to speak, your right to stand up for yourself. That's what this is about. This is about taking away your voice. Yeah? How long before they start taking away the EU movement's rights to protest? How long before they start taking away the Palestine protests? How long before they start taking away, what about those in the right wing? The likes of the EDFL who like to do their protests. What if you guys get your rights to protest taken away too? How far are we going to go? Yeah? Are we going to go that far? Because this is the level we're doing. I'm glad that Labour said they're going to repeal it, which is great because I think it's absolutely out of whack. But how far should it go, guys? Clearly, they do not care about the individual person. They intend to work us to the ground until we're dead in the ditch. And that is what you will get if you vote Conservative at the next general election. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think of the new legislation? What do you think about workers' rights, about unions? And do you believe that this is just a case of trying to numb down the unions? Or do you actually believe there is a real argument for this law to pass? Let me know what you guys honestly think down in the comment section down below. Hit the like button, be greatly appreciated. Share this across social media and hit the bell notification icon so you'll be notified of when I go live or when I upload another video. And if you want to financially support me, you can do so by buying me a coffee or joining me on Patreon with the links down below. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.